Hey, welcome back to Big Board. We're looking at battles on the east. Bagration stopped. Warsaw, 1944. This is module number 1 of the Battles in the East system. Played module 2 earlier on. It was an early war battle. One of the things I did realize, just as a talking point here, before we get into sort of looking at the map and talking about the battle here and the plan for both sides, and I have not done any historical reading on this yet, so I really don't know what transpired. So it's all very new to me. I did make, I think, probably a significant error in gameplay with the disengagement rules as I was playing. That may have actually informed my strategy incorrectly for the Soviets, because the disengagement rules do allow you to exit the zones of control of the enemy at a significant cost in terms of movement points and things like that. So I did not use that very well, if at all, during my gameplay. And I think that colored, I think I was stuck in the mentality of the original systems back in the 70s and 80s that this is built upon, that once in a zone of control, you were stuck in a zone of control. And I tended to think like that, even though I knew there was a disengagement rule. So we're going to play correctly, or more accurately this time, and hopefully any other mistakes we make will be somewhat less impactful, because I think it ended up, just as a by the by, I think it ended up letting the Germans win too quickly. Anyway, this particular battle, we're flipping the coin now. It's 1944. As we can see, lots of army groups ready to enter the board against a very sparse, you can see the chicken in the background there, very sparse German defense. Sometimes when I set these games up and they're in this sort of mode, if it's 41 for the Soviets or 44, 45 for the Germans, you just kind of look at it and go, oh man, why bother, right? So you got to get your head right and hope that the designer has structured this so that it is not an entire blowout immediately, and that there is some gaming fun to be had, number one, and number two, a little bit of learning as we go, and without it sort of going off the rails too bad. Anyway, just kind of by the by comment. Now let's have a look at the situation and sort of dig in on, well, what are we going to do as the Germans to prevent what appears to be a massive red wave of enemy units just swamping and taking all the VP locations in the first 2 or 3 turns of a 10-turn cycle, 10-turn scenario. So let's jump up and have a look at a couple of little unique things or specific things to the scenario for a start. And the first of those is we've got this hammer and sickles here. This is going to mitigate the cost of crossing the Vistula. So instead of being +3 movement points for mech, it's going to be +2, and infantry will be +1 versus +2. So that's nice. Same rule would apply if I had my tweezers are not set wide enough for the larger counters, so we'll just pick it up. If I had a unit here and a unit here, if I'm looking to cross there, I'm going to have that same move cost benefit, the decrease in cost, because I've already got a unit across, and now I can't remember where that went. I think it was here. A unit across, so that it represents bridging, right? So just some bridging technology and tools and equipment and stuff like that. All the units that are on the map at the moment, just before you panic, are not in place, right? They're in their setup hex. Nearly every unit on the map has either a 1, 2, or 3 hex range where they may set up. So we need to do a little bit of thinking about that. Set all the Germans up first, get their defense set, and then that'll probably drive the thinking around where the Soviets go. So what are the victory conditions? What are we trying to achieve? All that good fun stuff. Interestingly enough, given that we're in Poland and in the Warsaw area, Warsaw is not a key target. All right. All the victory locations, and let me just confirm that. Where is that other one? 1, 2, 3. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Yeah, there's one. Here's one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's another one over here somewhere. Or maybe it's here. No. No, I can't find it. Oh. Is that it? No. Anyway, there's 5 up here somewhere. Let's not get too fussed about it. Nothing down here on the southern end of the map. So if you look at the map, just to orient yourselves, it's this direction is north, west, and so on. As I mentioned, as you saw earlier on, there's 3 or 4 Soviet armies coming onto the map, and all the victory point locations are up here. And if now there are going to be other VPs, I'm going to guess for so there will be other VPs for Soviet-controlled hexes. For every 2 Soviet-controlled hexes west of the Vistula or northwest of the Naru River, that have no German unit within 2 hexes, that's going to be fun to keep track of, and plus 1 VP for every Hungarian infantry division eliminated. Now, Hungarians leave the game turn 3, I believe, but that will be fun, a fun little track down as well. Oh, so that's going to drive some behavior down here. Whoops, hang on one second. Down this end of the map, if you can see here, Soviets, Hungarians, two Hungarians here. There's another Hungarian up just at a screen up there near Warsaw. You can see my hand all the way up there, just there. If we can knock out those, we'll get a VP for each of those. So that's trying to drive some activity to the west and south of Warsaw. But you've got the key VP locations, which would get, if you got all 5 of them, wherever the 5th one is, if you got all 5 of them up here, that would give you a draw. And if you did nothing else, it would give you a draw. But 1 VP for every 2 Soviet-controlled hexes west of the Vistula or northwest. And this must be the Naru here, I'm guessing. Yeah, Nawe, or N-A-R-E-W. I don't know how you say that with a Polish accent, but there's that. So that would be this river here, northwest. So anything up here, as well as all along here. So it does encourage us to think more broadly than just rushing to capture these red stars that you can see on the map here. So the Germans have a bit of a tricky situation. If we look at the map, sort of, am I zoomed in? I am now. So we've got a set of units sort of pushed up east, well east of Vistula. We've got some units here that can go anywhere. These guys, this is 2nd Mech, I think it was. Yeah, 2nd Tank, sorry, not Mech. 2nd Tank, which is, basically in these guys' rear. So there's a huge gap in the line here for the Germans. It looks like these guys were all trying to move this way or slowly fade back west. It would have been nice to be able to use this river line here as a defensive line, but it looks like that's sort of collapsed. So tough, right? So now we know also that if we allow the Russians to advance too quickly, it's going to be very easy for them to get to push units across this river line. Maybe a little bit more difficult crossing a major river, but certainly this is not a major river, and so that, from a defensive benefit, let's have a look at that and see what that will do to us. 2 to the left for a minor river, 3 to the left for a major. So this can be useful as a defensive tool. We're not going to gain any benefit from these streams, I guess. Yeah, that's actually a continuation of this river here that continues here. So enemy units crossing here If we get two of them over, we will get a VP, but we've also got a buffer. We've got to keep enemy units 2 hexes away. Not sure if you saw that because I've got the camera to one side and I'm off here, but here, this continues this river here, the Naru, whatever it is, continues this river here. So we need to sort of hold this line and minimize the number of VPs that the Soviets can pick up. And then obviously, if we make it easy for the Soviets to cross here, they will, and then that will allow them to push through and exploit. There's really no terrain here that allows us to do anything of a defensive nature. Now I'm going to come to combat capabilities in a second here, but so this line is critical, but down here in the south, let's see if I can swing this way. There's a formation right here, and they can actually set up on this side of the Vistula if we wanted to, which really is going to be tricky because there's nothing here except some woods and some little bit of rough to slow down the German, slow down the Soviet advance at all. So big task for the Germans with units that have pretty decent defensive values. They're 3s and 2s. They have some counterpunch capability. All of these units that have this sort of blue box, blue factor, white box, are going to, I got to stop picking things up and pay attention to where they are. Will receive beneficial shifts if they counterattack, if they're attacking. But Soviets have plenty of that as well. But as you look at all the Soviets here, we can see there's very few units that have a 4 combat factor. Most of them are 2s and 3s. So it's going to take a lot of ganging up on units, particularly if we're trying to fight our way across the Vistula. I think it's going to be an expensive set of combats. And the same will probably go this area here. It's a matter of do we allow the Germans to sort of leave units behind in, where are these counters? In field fortifications, which is going to give them one shift to the left. We got to think about that. We can put those up pretty much anywhere, subject to counter mix limits. So I'm a little nervous for the Germans, so particularly up in the north where there are some defensive factors of just 1 up here, and pretty beefy. There's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's every bit of 10 counters per army group here. So we're going to have work cut out for us for both sides. I don't really have a clear plan. I don't think. I think if I'm the Soviets, I'm going to take these 2 armies and just hammer this way, push this army at an angle up this way along this river line, and try and put 3 armies of pressure up that way, and then take the balance of the Soviet forces and all the reinforcements that come, perhaps all these guys, and then let's try and bleed out the Germans and cross the Vistula for the win, and get as many VPs as we can by getting units across the board. Not going to worry about trying to capture Hungarian units and kill them off. There's another one here that we could get VPs for, but I don't think that's worth the drama or the distraction unless I use this army here and can push aggressively in here and have some success. Who knows? Anyway, that's kind of what's going on. I'm going to get started on this today. What is it? It's Tuesday today. I've got a few bits and pieces to deal with for work this morning, and then sometime after lunch, we'll set up and get going and sort of go for it from there. So all of you go have a great day. Look forward to sharing some updates, and I may potentially do some live recorded play. We'll see how badly I mangle the rules, and we'll go for it from there. Ciao.